Pleasant good morning to everyone. Welcome once again to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's guest menu looks like this. She's the host of She Say Sports, Sonia Stamps. She'll join me in hour number one. Following Mrs. Stamps will be Danita Rogers. She's the Director of Athletics at Langston University. That's all in hour number one. Hour number two starts off with the coach, Coach Van Pettaway, in hour number two. And then following Coach Van Pettaway, Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU game day. So a full guest menu for you today. Here's what's trending. Big news. A commitment from Makur Maker to Howard University. That was trending number one, and it's big news. It's big news. Now, when he officially signs on the dotted line, it will be even better. But Makur Maker commits to Howard University. Langston University decides to cancel the 2020 fall sports over COVID-19 concerns. And we will speak with Danita Rogers, the Director of Athletics at Langston University. She'll be coming up very shortly. St. Augustine fires legendary track and field coach George Williamson. Shocking to say the least. Iconic track and field coach. What's really going on at St. Augustine? Well, they fire legendary track and field coach George Williams. And Melanie Webb, congratulations, named new athletic director at Norfolk State. And of course, the conversation continues. And I got a chance to listen across black media. And by the way, support black media. Really do that. Because they, meaning black media, they're on the scene, they're behind the scenes, they're doing great work. So across all platforms, support them. Please do. But across black media platforms, of course, the Southwestern Athletic Conference still hot and heavy. And at least from last week, still, who will move to the Western Division out of the three Mississippi universities in the Southwestern Athletic Conference? I've heard many explanations, many reasons, many predictions. And I don't know. I'm starting to think that I'm in the minority of thinking as far as who my choice was. And I won't go into it right now, but if you were listening last week, you heard the team that I would want for from a competitive standpoint and just selfish reasons. It could be easy to say, no, I don't want a certain team in the West. But that's just not the way I roll. That's just not the way I roll. Sonia Stamps, Danita Rogers, Coach Van Pettaway, Brandon B.J. Jones. And one of the things with B.J., I'm going to kind of put him on the spot, an early situation where I'm going to ask him to put together his top 5 coaches in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Now, there's no wrong or right in your list, but I'm interested to see how he ranks them. This is kind of like the too early prediction conversation. That'll be interesting in itself. Good morning to Brother Prince. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. Thank God I'm still here.
Amen to that. Look, I was thinking about you with the question you're going to ask BJ. Is that with the current 10 or with the additional 2 top 5 coaches in the conference?
12, all 12.
Ooh, man, you are going to put his feet to the fire.
Yeah, but BJ can handle it.
Oh, I know he can. He can handle it, but I'm like, wow, I can't wait to hear that one.
Yeah, I kind of put my top 5 down in my head.
Save it for later, though.
So,
save it for later.
I'm gonna save it for later, but I'm interested to see.
Ooh,
and by the way, if you want,
I want to hear your list for sure.
Well, I won't say like somebody says. Well, it won't change too much. We're gonna go with continues to been working for us, but yeah, it will take into account the 2 new coaches coming into the conference. One we know about, Coach Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lewis, tough individual. And by the way, I've kind of through social media been establishing a relationship with some Bethune-Cookman Wildcats.
Uh-oh.
They are very excited.
Well, they're
very
excited
excited to come in the conference.
They need to be. They're coming to the Southwestern Athletic Conference, baby. There ain't nothing to shake a stick at.
No, and they're coming to be competitive, and that's what it's all about. # competitive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I've been really excited about what they're bringing. They and FAMU bringing to the table on the baseball side of things. I'm salivating, man. It's really going to be intense. I told my wife that we need to put Florida on the trip because I am proud to have been to every sister school within the conference campus to partake in sporting events, and we're going to add Daytona and Tallahassee to the bucket list.
Yeah, I've been to Tallahassee. I have not been to Daytona Beach. It was a humbling experience the last time I was in Tallahassee. A Southern football team that was number 1 in black college football, number 2 in the FCS. Well, at the time we say AA poll, and it was humbling, 65-18. I was there. I mean, it's like a heavyweight boxing match. The arena is packed, and you're coming in, you're confident, but you get hit with a haymaker right off the bat, and I mean, you never recover. Never recover.
When you said a heavyweight bout, I thought about Tyson in his heyday. Yeah, they wasn't long bouts with a 65-18 loss. That was the most disappointing fight, and I still say he took a dive, was Michael Spinks, my homeboy, out of St. Louis, but he declared he was from Philadelphia the night they announced him. 91 seconds. 91 seconds, man, and I'm still looking for the punch. He got grazed and he laid down, but that's another story. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, that's all right. I mean, he was smart, I guess, in a way.
Yeah,
I'm not taking his punishment. And speaking of that, Clifford Etienne, native of Baton Rouge, I think that was one better. He got hit with a quote-unquote haymaker and had enough time to pull out his mouthpiece, then go back to the canvas. Now, and you can go look at that on YouTube. Wow! And his nickname was the Black Rhino.
Oh man!
True story. You go look at it. I'm like, oh, he's out. Wait a minute, he's taking his mouthpiece out, and then he lays back down on the canvas. I guess that was a delayed reaction. I don't know. Maybe the nerves got off. Yeah, it was nerves, all right.
He beat the nerves out of him.
Well, we got unboxing there.
Oh my goodness.
Oh well, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, but albeit I've seen some success with Southern against FAMU, but it's going to be reestablishing rivalries and relationships and making new relationships. So I can't wait to 2021. Yeah, if we could fast forward to 2021 and everything's a lot better as far as the pandemic and what have you. Thus, you have something to look forward to. But until that time, God be with us, because
hey man, with the way
you're getting cases spiking again, people just not doing what they're supposed to do, and you can only control you and yours.
That's right.
And I say control, but you know what I mean.
What I was about to say, with the way this COVID is rolling, we're going to roll past 2020 anyway and spring forward to 2021, the way things are looking right now.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, Danita Rogers, she'll give us her perspective on going into the decision with Langston. And by the way, I thought it was the right decision for Langston.
Oh, no doubt.
To make. And you're going to see other universities, you're starting to see conferences getting ready to vote on whether to have fall sports. So it's going to be interesting in the next week, 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
And in some cases, the next week.
Absolutely.
So on that note, my first guest, we're going to take a time out. Sonia Stamps of She Say Sports, and a brief, quick story. I met her at the Celebration Bowl doing the show. She walked in, and believe it or not, I said something about I took a shot at Jackson State, which I'm known to do, and I didn't know she was an alum of Jackson State. So that was interesting. I'll just leave it there. But she'll talk to me next. So I'm going to take a time out. You're listening to the Coles Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wagon Master Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association, or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is swacaluminassociation@yahoo.com.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. She's the host of She Say Sports. Sonia Stamps joins me now. Sonia, good morning to you.
Good morning, Carlos. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to have you on, and I kind of wish if I'd have been thinking ahead, have some of that JSU music, because when you look at that Southern and Jackson State game in football and other sports as well, it's just fabulous. It is one of the best scenes in college football, point blank.
Absolutely. I totally agree. We talk, you all are our biggest rival in Louisiana, and, Alcorn being our biggest here in Mississippi. But I have to say, I enjoy playing Southern, and the band is second to my Sonic Boom of the South, of course. So, but
wow.
you know.
Yeah, well, you know, I really think of those two bands are 1 and 2 in the in black college bands.
Absolutely.
And now with the Marching 100, FAMU.
Oh yes.
And then Bethune-Cookman's band. We've talked about baseball being very competitive, of course, football, but the pageantry, and now with the bands coming in, I mean, can you not just wait? Aren't you ready for 2021 and beyond to get here early?
Absolutely. You know, like you mentioned, FAMU brings the Marching 100, and as you know, SWAC bands are a very intricate part of our heritage and sports play. And, you know, SWAC bands are very competitive, and although the Sonic Boom, like I said, is the best in the land to me, I have to tell you why I love Southern. I'll tell you that later. But it would be good to see both school bands, you know, to see if they'll match up in the SWAC with us. It'll be really good.
Well, I would agree with about 90% of what you said. For the part where the Sonic Boom of the South, but I could understand that. And then the uniqueness of the names that are given. You know, right. The Sonic Boom of the South, the Human Jukebox. Right. You even think about Tennessee State, the Aristocrats of Bands. TV's band, what, the Marching Storm? Am I correct on that one?
I really don't. Hey, Mike.
Look, how y'all doing? I wasn't gonna jump in on y'all's little segment, but it is the Marching Storm, and you know what it is, Carlos. I'll deal with you later, though. Talking about, I
appreciate that, brother Mike.
Y'all carry on. Carry on with y'all's band love affair, and y'all will be at each other's throat. But that's okay, though. I'm sit back in the cuts and let y'all finish on.
No, we just needed clarity. That was it.
Y'all need more than clarity. But we're not going to get into that right now. Y'all leave me alone. Leave me alone. Y'all carry on.
Well, son, you know, it is much love because it's a competitive side. But then in the grand scheme of things, we're HBCU family, and we have to look out for each other. With that being said, what are your thoughts on FAMU and Bethune-Cookman joining the Southwestern Athletic Conference?
I think, you know, it's a great addition. You know, FAMU and Bethune, and, you know, they're both leaving the MEAC. So coming to the SWAC is like a marriage. And with that, both bring something to the table. And what I'm seeing, you know, I've been listening to interviews this week on it and reading, you know, articles. Both, you know, they bring budget, they bring fan base, academics, brand name recognition. You know, we mentioned the Marching 100. I'm not really familiar with Bethune-Cookman's band. Are they pretty good? I don't know.
Well,
okay.
I've done a little homework. Did a little homework and kind of reached out to some Bethune-Cookman alums, and I think last week, we played their fight song on the show. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Brother Prince, give us the pleasure of hearing it again.
Okay.
But pretty nice.
Okay. Well, you know, both of them, you know, bring their bands, and also with bringing FAMU and Bethune, you know, it would be great to see some sort of classic. You know how we had. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
It would be nice. It would be nice to see them have like a Florida classic or something, and you know, just add it to the classics that we already have in the SWAC. What do you think about that? I think that'll be a great idea if they have something. I don't know if they even have anything like that because I'm not, you know, too familiar with their classics and MEAC.
Well, Bethune and FAMU, of course, they have the Florida Classic, and it's
so they do have a Florida Classic. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe one day I'll get a chance to, before I leave God's green earth, to attend that game. I've seen it on television. And you look at the blueprint, geographical blueprint. They are from now the SWAC from Texas to Florida. Two teams in Florida. And you got two in Texas. So right now, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, they're trending up big time, and the future and the sky is the limit for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And Sonia, Dr. McClellan has just been outstanding in his leadership in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I absolutely agree. That's what you mentioned that, it's only going up with the SWAC conference right now. But even during COVID, after Bethune and FAMU came on with the SWAC, marketing and branding has increased. And sponsors, I heard the commissioner talking the other day, sponsors have been calling since they joined the SWAC, which is ultimately good for the entire SWAC country. So I'm excited about it. He's done an amazing job since he's become the commissioner, and I'm just looking forward to what else he has under his sleeve. It's been great. It's been great to see. Yeah.
All of this leadership and all these exciting things happening when you're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
And unfortunately, this pandemic seems to, everybody's talking about the second wave. You haven't gotten out of the first wave. And, cases are spiking now in the deep south, southwest, and the west. So with all of that going on, great leadership with Dr. McCullough. I'm visiting with Sonia Stamps of She Say Sports. And speaking of that, how did you come up with that name, and what was the inspiration behind it?
Well, actually, 5 years ago, when I first started, in 2014, I finished my master's in sports administration, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with this degree. I wanted to ultimately be an operations manager for, like an NBA team. I sang for the Dallas Mavericks, and I've been doing that since '06. I sang the national anthem. So being behind the scenes, seeing everything, and then working out, I interned at Jackson State, starting in 2013. And so I was seeing the ins and outs of the operational side. And so I was like, I want to do that, but I also always wanted to kind of deal with entertainment side of it. And so I decided, I was like, I wanted a girls group, all women talking sports. And I had a couple of ladies that I thought was going to work out with me, and one of my sports mentors, which is Wesley Peterson, he advised, he was like, you really need to do this by yourself. And before he told me that, I had already came up with the name. So She Say Sports was pretty much like, ladies talking, like that's She Say, how you hear that. So that's why I came up with the name like that. And then he suggested that I do it by myself. And I was like, I don't want to do it by myself. But I like the name. I love, what it kind of stands for, because it's women, we're talking sports, and may not necessarily, just have X's and O's every day, because I also interview entertainers. I do everybody, but there's always some type of field of sports and what we talk about.
In other words, it sounds like you developed a niche in a brand.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And adding other aspect to the sports angle. Sonia, when we first started talking, and you said you would come back and kind of give an explanation, because in my notes, I wanted to ask you about what makes, and maybe we may miss something, the sports fanatics, but what makes Southern University and JSU rivalry special, and specifically we're talking about and football, and that's not to slight other rivals out there, because every weekend it's going to be a war, but that's Southern and JSU.
Oh my gosh,
rivalry.
We really like, and I'm just kidding when I say we hate each other. I don't know what it is, but it's I like the rivalry, because it's like, if you say Southern, I turned my mouth up. I was like, oh God, and I kid with my friends. I have a band, and one of my band members, actually 2 of them went to Southern. And so, we kid a lot or whatever. However, one of the best games I've ever seen in my life was Jackson State versus Southern in 2010. And excuse me?
No,
are you there?
Yeah.
And that the last minute or so was the most, I think it was not only amazing, but it made your heart want to stop because you didn't know what was happening. It was the most thrilling game I've ever seen live. And Casey Terrahawk, which was our quarterback at the time, he, it was back and forth the scores for the last 30 seconds, was it? Carlos, do you remember? But it was going back and forth.
Unfortunately, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And he threw that Hail Mary, and, I think we beat you guys by 1 or 2 points, but it deflated the Southern fans when that last play, and I cried. I have never cried at the Jackson State game, and I boo-hooed, and nobody left the stadium. People just stood there for maybe about 35 to 40 minutes just standing there because it was just, it was amazing. It was amazing. But why I love Southern's band second to Jackson State is because, going to Jackson State, when I was undergrad, we would go to the game. And the first time, one of my favorite songs, It Ain't Over Till It's Over by Lenny Kravitz, you guys played. I don't want to hear another band play that song ever. Nobody plays it like Southern. Nobody, not Jackson State, nobody, the Marching Storms, Mike, nobody. So it was an amazing, I love to hit. So when you all come to town or we come to Baton Rouge, that's one of my highlights, hearing them play that song.
Yeah. And I think the analogy behind it is, simply put, it's not over till it's over. And at Southern games, it may be a situation where they're behind, it's late, they need to come back, and then the band would strike that song up, and it was just magical. Quickly, in our few minutes left here, in 1993 in Jackson, I'm going to date myself, but that's all right. Just coming into Jackson with my friend and driving through, and I'm like, wow, what all this smoke? It must be a fire somewhere. A building must be on fire. So, my gosh, I hope everyone is okay if that's what it is. And I remember, Jackson to me is kind of hilly because now I'm from Baton Rouge. It's flat pretty much, below sea level somewhat, just a little bit.
Right.
And you're coming down and you see all this smoke, and I'm like, wow. And then to the right, it's a huge hospital. And then I look to my left, and my goodness, cars are everywhere. People are walking. And the Veterans Memorial Stadium, you just can't even see any parking space. And you see RVs everywhere. And a local Jackson radio station, and we're doing live remotes after we parked maybe 3 or 4 blocks away and then walked to the stadium. And it was people that I had not seen in Baton Rouge in 20 years.
Are you serious?
Seriously. I saw them at the football game. I saw ministers there. Boy, and one minister in particular, wow. I was shocked.
Really?
He was there. You saw representatives from the state of Louisiana, politicians, and it was a Southern victory, but it was a tough, hard-fought game, and that's my first memory of many. But it's always a special game, and just the pageantry. And to me, both fan bases are alike. They're cocky and arrogant. And I think that's why they go at each other hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
that explains it. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, if in your all-out power, if you have any resources to whisper in somebody's ear in the committee, if you want to send Jackson State to the West, feel free to do it, Sonia. I know you can get it done.
Oh, really? So that's what you're wanting, Jackson State to go to the West Coast.
Yeah, Jackson State or Alcorn. Alcorn will be first. Jackson State, Valley is third. But I'm sure it's going to come up again on the show about Valley, and everybody's been giving these great presentations about Valley and concerns about their travel, and and we do need to help out our institutions. We are our brother's keepers. So, whatever decision they make, I'm going to stand by it.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because on Mike's show last Sunday with the commissioner, they talked about Valley, and everybody's always kind of dogging Valley out or whatever. And Mike, and I've noticed that since I've known him, he has always kind of taken up for Valley. And he mentioned that on the show, and the commissioner was like, well, just like, when he first, and Mike, you can help me if I'm saying this wrong, but when he first became the AD at Prairie View, he was young, he was inexperienced, and he helped get Prairie View, because at that time, Prairie View was the Valley of Texas. And so, but he was one of the ones that helped get them back on track. And, if they could get back on track, so can Valley. Did I quote that pretty well, Mike?
For JSU, you did okay.
Oh my God!
No, I'm just. People forget that Prairie View was in a black hole during the 80s and the 90s.
Right.
Financial challenges, identity challenges, and a whole lot. And that's part of the compassion that I have for Valley today, because they could easily shut the door on us. And people soon to forget just how fortunate you are. And when you do get to that Valley low, you got to handle folks the way you handled them. They handled you. The same people you meet coming up, you'll meet coming down. But no, I think Valley will be okay. And my thing with Valley is that the glass is half full versus half empty. They're only $3 million behind Alcorn, and Alcorn been handling everybody in football. So
that's right.
They can get it done, and they will get it done in due season.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Whoever the choice coming over into the West, it'll be okay. And just make the decision. They'll do their due diligence with that, and they'll consider all of the factors. And when they make the decision, I'll just be glad the decision's been made. And now you're looking at an expanded conference, and better days are ahead.
It's the Super Swag, baby. This is going to be very interesting. I'm excited.
Well, definitely I'm excited to have finally had a chance to talk with you, and we appreciate the time, Sonia. And
thank you.
You have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you at another time.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on the show. I want you, BJ, and Mike to come on the show. I've been thinking about that for about a month or so I was just trying to figure out how to do it, but we'll work it out. But thanks again for having me on the show, and you also have a great weekend. Bye, Mike.
Thank you. And Jukebox 1, Sonic Boom 2, and we'll let the fans weigh in on who will complete the order of bands in the conference. We'll do that one day.
I like that.
We'll do that.
I like that. Cool. Gotcha.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
That was Sonia Stamps, host of She Say Sports on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Going to take a time out. Then I'm going to visit with Danita Rogers, Director of Athletics at Langston University. Last time I saw Miss Rogers from afar was a couple years ago. And Langston came to play Southern University in football, and she's no stranger to the Southwestern Athletic Conference as well. But Langston University cancels the 2020 fall sports over COVID-19 concerns. She'll join me next to talk about that. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Be the one with courage to fight child abuse.
All Texans must find the courage to fight child abuse.
Learn the signs and symptoms and report suspected abuse to appropriate authorities.
Learn and know these warning signs.
A child who undergoes changes in behavior, appetite, or routine.
Watch for unexplained injuries, a change in academic performance, or loss of interest by a child in regular activities.
Trust your instincts. If you suspect something, do something.
If you believe a child is in an abusive situation, please call the Texas Abuse Hotline at 1-800-252-5400.
Be the one with courage. To find your local Children's Advocacy Center, visit onewithcourage.org.
On behalf of children, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you 1 chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. My next guest of today's show, Danita Rogers, the Director of Athletics at Langston University. Danita, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing much better. I'm getting my thoughts and myself grounded after our big news this week.
Well, let me just say I thought it was the appropriate decision from the outside looking in, but of course, talk about that, Danita. I'm sure it took a lot of considerations and talking with your staff and what have you. Kind of talk about the process of going through the decision that Langston Athletics made.
Well, I would like to say that it was this huge, drawn-out process, but it really hasn't. It really wasn't. My president started kind of, I guess, giving me teaspoonsful of what was or what could potentially come this week, and he started talking about I'm just not sure, how we're going to do this safely. I've been looking, and as we all have heard, even the bigger Division I universities are having positive cases of the coronavirus on their players as they have returned back for voluntary workouts and stuff during the summer. And, he's just like, I just don't know. He said, I'm like 50% there. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. So about 2 days ago, I guess it was on Thursday, he talked to us about, he said, AD, I think we're going to meet this afternoon. And he said, I'm going to go with my gut. I just He goes, I just don't see how we're gonna do this safely. Talked to all of our coaches of the fall sports, and then we had a game plan together. And then the following morning, they had the messaging ready to go out. We met again to start talking about what we were going to talk to our student athletes about later that morning. And that's pretty much what we're doing. And football had a big Zoom meeting this morning with their student athletes. I have another meeting with our conference athletic directors on Monday. And then it's my goal to address all of our student athletes this coming Wednesday via Zoom.
Zoom is godsend.
Yes, it is.
If you had, steak and Zoom before then, that was fine. But now it has been a lifesaver. Just talking with other director of athletics in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So with that being said, Danita, it seems like, you took it piece by piece, put it together, and it ultimately came down to the safety and concerns for your student athletes over the pandemic. And then plus in Oklahoma, if I'm reading the numbers right, they're seeing spikes in COVID-19. They're seeing a spike and rises in those cases as well. Was that something else to consider, being that close?
Yeah, most definitely. I think we have been very data-driven throughout this entire process. That was one of the things that we were, I won't say comfortable, but we were really looking at the best way to reopen and bring our athletes back in the fall. But as the month of June, cases continued to climb. We were kind of at our all-time highest. We were doing really well there for several months. And then, Texas, they're spiking. We have a lot of student athletes from all over the country, but we do have a lot that are from our surrounding states, and a lot of those numbers also just really kind of help this push the pendulum far to the other side. So we feel like it could get worse, and it doesn't really have an end in sight. We've been told by CDC, as we listen to the news and forecasts about there could potentially be better treatments, a vaccine, and all that. But all those are going to be later in the year, if then. So, I feel like it was in the best interest and safety of our student athletes to go ahead and pull the plug as well. Don't get me wrong; it was a hard blow to take. It did feel like like I said, a loss of a family member. We're all wired, that one season ends and then you take a deep breath, get a little rest, and then we're ready to go again. So, this is an extreme blow to us.
Visiting with Danita Rogers, the Director of Athletics at Langston University. I got people responding already with questions, but the status of Langston honoring student athletes with their scholarship. I know I've had a couple of those questions that come in already. Langston, the university, they will honor those scholarships.
Yeah. So, in our official announcement, all of our student athletes that signed their awards letter, the letter of intent, were asked to come back or that have been recruited as of July 2nd. All of those scholarships will be honored.
I've got them.
That goes for our band as well. So, we understand too, as being an HBCU, hey, there's as much focus, especially when you talk about fall sports and preparing for football and everything around your band. And hats off to Mark Gordon, our director of bands, and this is a big blow to him as well. He had a lot of things planned for the band, and this is about to be their showtime as well. And he was looking at being around between 235 and 250 strong, which is very, very good for a university of our size, especially at NEI institutions. But he's done a great job of growing our band. and making it something really, really special. Very, very proud of his direction there.
Yeah, well, that's pretty impressive. That's a big band.
Yeah,
that's a big band. Another question, Danita, is: will the fall athletes who want to transfer be able to with no penalty?
So,
speak on that?
Yeah, well, we're working through those pieces. It is our hope that all of our athletes that have committed to us will go ahead and stay. You have to remember that there's a huge possibility that we will still be able to have spring sports. And if you've been watching the news, this morning I saw some things where even I believe like Lincoln Riley was talking about like, hey, I'd be fine with if football was played in the spring. I still feel like there's some things are not the dust hasn't totally settled on all of this yet. And even before we made this decision, I find it very, very difficult to think that football is going to be able to make it through with everybody. We just haven't had that big case where we've known of an athlete or whatever that's fighting for their life on the ventilator or whatever. These student athletes are in their prime, strong, healthy, but COVID affects people different ways. And so we've been blessed just to hear news that, so-and-so football players tested positive for the virus or whatever, but we haven't had that story yet. And I think that those things are going to be impactful because it's really kind of hard to justify why you took that chance, with student athletes. Because, especially with football, I mean, how do you really social distance? There's some other sports where I can see where you can put those things in, but when you're lined up, when you're on the line facing each other, I mean, how does that happen? And when you think about the sweat exchange, the locking up, I mean, it's, I don't know. I don't know how that works, but yes, but we're hoping that we can keep everyone. We have a very, very strict rule within our conference with regarding to transferring within our conference, and our coaches and all. We met yesterday and we actually talked about that. We know that could become an issue, but we have decided that we will release all athletes if they choose to go anywhere else except within the conference.
Yeah, that's usually, wouldn't you say, pretty standard, anywhere but within the conference. Visiting with Danita Rogers, the Director of Athletics at Langston University. And Danita, when you look at it, and I'm listening to you explain the situation for Langston, safety and health for student athletes, that's number one concern. And then also, just to be honest, there's a liability issue. If you try, and again, Power 5 conferences and universities, that's a totally different beast. But I would not want to be liable or have a liability issue. And as you stated, someone loses their life, albeit young people. That's a burden I wouldn't want to have.
That's exactly right. And even with the ability to test, I mean, you look at I was mesmerized by all the things that were going on with the NBA as they were talking about what's going to be happening in the bubble, and they have the customized bracelets that beep when you're 6 feet apart, or when you get less than 6 feet apart from someone, and they've got the quarantine thing. And look at I believe they're going to spend something close to $1 billion for this experience in the bubble. And you just put that and shrink that down some with trying to do that on the collegiate level. I don't know that we can have that. I don't even know if we can come close to having that type of experience. And, who's to know, even with the NBA and the bubble, there still could be issues, people that go home and still have to come back. Like there's just so many variables to this that it's just almost, we got to still stick it out and try to learn more. And again, wait for better treatments and wait for us to get a better hold of this.
And you ready for this, Danita? While you were talking about that, a listener wanted to know.
Oh no, it must be good.
Yeah, with SWAC expansion momentum, does Langston University or has Langston University follow any of that news? And if so, what would be the thought on what it would take for Langston, as the only public HBCU operating a football program in NAIA, to make a move to the NCAA Division II, ultimately Division I FCS?
All right, that is a great question. That's probably the most asked question that I get, and that I've had the last 5 years, getting ready to start my 6th year.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so let's kind of go back and break this down a little bit. So back whenever I was coaching at Langston University, we actually did our membership, and we're looking at going to the SEAC. All right, and the travel for that was going to be absolutely crazy for us, traveling for the SEAC. Also, there's that set out process where I believe at the time, I want to say it was around 4 or 5 years, where you had to set out. You cannot compete for postseason play, anything like that, until you were a full member of at that time, NCAA Division II. So we went through that process and started it. And as a head women's basketball coach, my program really took a hit. And so other people that were recruiting against us, they were like, "Why would you go play for Langston? You can't compete for anything." It was a very, very difficult time. After we had already kind of got our whistle wet, so to speak, with national tournament appearances. So that was hard for us as coaches. Like, it's hard not having anything to play for. It's hard to get great, recruits there. And so you feel a little bit like an intramural program or something like that. It's just hard to get that drive, or everybody likes to start the season with that carrot at the end that, hey, we can be conference championships. Ultimately, we want to try to be a national champion, but not having those goals as a possibility are very, very difficult for your culture and your program, or at least it was for me. So I would say, if you're really fair about that question, it is a lot easier for football to make it in that transition than your other sports. Your other sports really take a dive on who they're able to recruit and all that for that reason. Now, football is a little bit different, because even being at the NAIA level, we're still have played SWAC schools, and you can still create that culture where people are going to follow it, and I won't say they don't care about the conference championships, but it kind of takes a little bit more of a back seat if we're having that big HBCU football battle. And we've got the teams battling, and of course the bands battling. And so football can kind of take that hit, but it's really, really a difficult decision, and it really impacts all of your other sports. And then we'll talk about, I actually did some numbers. So when we moved to the Sooner Athletic Conference, a lot of people have said, like, if we're going to make a move, we should have went through the SWAC or whatever. But I want people to understand that my entire athletic budget is what it would take just for football if we made that move. All right. And we're not even fully funded on our scholarships right now for football. So I put the numbers together, and I had to, as we made the move, of course, social media was blowing up. Some people were very supportive, but, a lot of people, they want to be in that strong HBCU conference. And, I get what they're saying. I would love it. And I don't know if there's a Boone Pickens out there that wants to invest us. The new
he's got the money.
Pickens or something like, yeah. But something very, very extreme would have to happen financially for us to make the move. We just can't do it. And raising money to that level and putting it in athletics, like, we're going to need some additional help to ever make that move.
Yeah.
Because again, keep that in mind. My entire budget for athletes, all women's basketball, men's basketball, track and field, everybody's salaries, my trainers, all those pieces, my entire budget is what we need just to operate football. All right. So there's a lot to go there. I think that I know that our alumni fans would love a move like that, and then you have to have the money for travel to sustain that. We're out in Oklahoma, so you're going to have to be flying, busing, something. I would look at our travel budget probably being tripled or quadrupled at least.
Yeah. And wasn't it a couple of years ago? And I want to say, help me out here. The president, isn't he a Southern alum?
Yeah,
but you were in Southern couple. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah. And boy, gave Southern everything they wanted. I just have to be honest about that. But it was a great experience, and I was very impressed. Very impressed. So, yeah, and with the history of Langston and the Southwestern Athletic Conference, I'm sure you get asked about that a lot. But with that being said, it's tough times with the pandemic going on. But your decision to just say, hey, our student athletes and our support system, our coaches, our administrators, it's important to keep them safe. So I believe, in my humble opinion, Langston made the right choice. And that choice was safety and the well-being of everyone involved with Langston. So on that note, a closing statement, Danita, about the future of Langston Athletics?
I'm going to just close by saying that I want everybody to know that you better watch out for 2021 because those Lions will be hunting again.
Oh, yeah. And guess what? There's only probably about a couple of thousand will be listening to this.
Go tell your friends.
I think you would have gave Jackson State. I think you'd have gave Jackson State a good tussle if it wasn't for this pandemic. But you didn't hear that, from nobody but me. I like to get after Jackson State, but Danita, appreciate the time, the insight of Langston Athletics. You have a great rest of your weekend, and let's talk again real soon.
All right, I look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. All right, that was Danita Rogers, Director of Athletics at Langston University. I just can't leave well enough alone. I just had to poke at Jackson State. It's just, see, I told you, cocky and arrogant. That's Southern people.
You know you're a bully, right?
Well, you say bully, but I don't know if I agree with just a bully.
You are a bully, man. We're gonna have to get a restraining order.
I'm gonna put a poll up on that one.
We're gonna have to get a restraining order against you, man. You are a big old bully. That's all you are.
No, I'm a nice guy.
I didn't say you were a nice guy. You just a bully.
Oh,
you're a nice guy who happens to be a bully, man. That's what you are. How the kids just say, I'm going to tell my mom on you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get my big brother. That's what wait a minute, but you are the big brother. So I guess big brother, you got the bullying naturally then. Old thug, you.
Yeah. But Danita really was transparent, and most of the director of athletics that I've talked to over the couple of months, they have been, and the student athletes, that's their top priority. So their decision that they made, Langston, it was the right decision, in my humble opinion. So she said, watch out, 2021. So now this time next year, hopefully, we're in a better situation with this pandemic. And we shall see. Time will tell. Time will tell. And on that note, the SIAC, there was reports that, and everybody has their sources. I've talked to some that are saying the SIAC is going to make an announcement, and they are going to make an announcement because, of course, Morehouse decided to say, hey, look, and Wiley College, shut it down. And so, and I've talked to some close associates and friends, and they just say they can't see how this is going to end up good. It's better to be safe than sorry. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, you got to do what's best for you. And you look at the data, you look at the information, you talk with your colleagues, your administrators, and you all come to a conclusion based on multiple factors. And then you make that decision, and you stick by that decision. Coming up in hour number 2, Coach Van Pettaway, and he's the Carlos Brown Show's basketball consultant and analyst. And I asked Coach Pettaway yesterday in the text message, and I had to pick up the phone and call him. Get up and call him. If you were asked by the Southwestern Athletic Conference to give your input on how you're going to set up this basketball situation, play in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, what would you advise them if they called and want you to be a consultant on a at-large committee or something of that nature? I'll let you hear him talk about that coming up in about a minute or two. And I see there are some questions that are coming in, some comments. I will try to read the most of them. And then Brandon B.J. Jones, he's fast forward to 2021. Top 5 coaches in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. He'll join me after Coach Pettaway. So we'll take a quick timeout. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
As a dad, you'll probably spend years teaching your son how to hit a baseball, how to throw a tight spiral and hit a receiver, how to spring off a diving board and hit the water, how to hit a 1-wood and a 9-iron, how to hit the bullseye, how to hit the strike zone, hit a jump shot, hit the open man, hit the hockey net, and maybe the most challenging of all, how to hit the books. But the question is this: how much time will you spend teaching him what not to hit? Teach your son early and often that all violence against women is wrong. For tips on what to say, visit endabuse.org. Brought to you by the Family Violence Prevention Fund, the Waite Institute for Violence Prevention, the Ad Council, and this station.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and many, many more, and we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most, like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. It's always good to talk with the coach, Coach Van Pettaway, the Carlos Brown Show's basketball analyst and / consultant. And we will have an announcement about his new contract coming up shortly. But good morning to you, Coach.
That's a good one, Carlos. Hey, look, that's the one we need to be looking forward to then. Good
yeah, because sometimes you got to sweeten the offer sometimes. Hey. But anyway, you doing well?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, Carlos, and I hope everybody else is. We're staying safe. Even though this is a holiday weekend, it's still all about family and the people that you've already been around. You know, I hate to say it, no outsiders today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and you know, it's a serious situation still, and you have to respect people's opinion on the pandemic, on everything. It's not about, am I always right? You know, you can agree to disagree, and that's the way it is. That's
right.
The way it is.
And Carlos, to be honest, in this day and time with this pandemic, there's no right or wrong, and it's because we don't know enough about this virus and how it's going to affect people, and therefore, to me, right now, there is no right or wrong, other than people not taking precaution. Now, you are wrong if you're not wearing a mask in public. You are wrong if you're not having distance between other people. Now, you're wrong in that regard, but in terms of us talking about upcoming seasons and this kind of thing, whether or not we're going to have athletics, these are just our opinions. And even at that, there's no right or wrong with that because everybody has their own opinion.
Fact. You know, I was getting to this. Fact and opinion. Fact. There is a pandemic going on. That's a fact.
Yes.
That is a fact. Worldwide.
Yes. Yes.
Opinion comes in is, however, in 2022, I think we still will be under a pandemic. Then that's my opinion.
Right.
Or will it be better? But anyway, several things to talk about. I teased everybody one about you're a consultant, and if the Southwestern Athletic Conference asks you on input about now with the expansion of the SWAC and basketball, the best way to do that, me and you kind of hashed out 16 conference games and what have you. We're going to get to that. But also, Alyssa wants to know about the big news for as a commitment. McCure Maker commits to Howard University. And we're kind of seeing, Coach, that those 5-star, those 4-star basketball athletes, they are seemingly making a move toward HBCUs. Kind of give me your overall perspective on all this.
Well, I love it. I hope he's the first of many. You know, I've said before, it would be great if the top athletes, the 4-stars and the 5-stars, if they would look at the HBCUs, because when you look at it, somewhere in their family tree, somebody has some HBCU connections. So, you know, for them to pick us or come to our schools, I think it's great for the sport. It's also great for the country. I think it shows once again that, you know, there's no separation, because as a coach, you'll tell a kid anyway, if you got the talent, it doesn't matter where you go. Now, this kid can go to Howard. He's not going to lose his draft position, because this kid, from what I know and have seen, he's probably one and done. So it does not matter where he goes to school. As long as he's on the court and he's producing, they will get him. I hope this does become a trend. If this is a trend now, I tell you this right now, I'll make my announcement today. I'll be back. I'll be back. If the 4s and 5s start coming, I'm telling you right now, if the 4s and 5s are coming to the HBCU, Van Pettaway is back. because I would love to have the opportunity to coach some of those guys.
Wow.
I mean, it's different. Apples and oranges. If it happens, I'm back. But I think it's great, and my hat's off to Howard for doing their work. And the kid made a great decision. I hope some of his buddies see the thing that he's done, and some of them will go to Howard and join him, or some of them will go to some of these other HBCUs. It's great for college basketball.
Yeah, well, I've put in. I have a friend, someone I know that works at Howard, so I went on ahead and put in my name to either get the coach or the young man. But we shall see.
Right.
But to your point, this seems to be a trend because of the spirit of what's going on in this country right now.
Right. Yep.
With our athletes. And if this consistently happens, as you stated, it's a game changer.
Oh, yes.
Coach.
Oh, yes.
It's a game changer. Now follow me. And I'm thinking because, of course, I looked at Howard's record last year. It wasn't like Prairie View's or Southern, but can you imagine Alabama A&M, Prairie View, already loaded? My goodness. Just give them the championship already. Or Southern University, getting some of that talent. And Coach,
it would be amazing if this would happen.
And don't forget about Texas Southern as well.
Right. We've got some great programs already, basketball programs in the SWAC. Mm-hmm. But if you get an influx of 4- and 5-star players, it only elevates the entire conference. We already, if you really look at it now, with the addition of FAMU and Bethune, we are a super conference. We're the most powerful conference in America when it comes to HBCUs, without a doubt.
Yeah, without a doubt. And now that kind of leads me into the possibility. If you, as I stated earlier, if you were asked about your input on how they're going to do the basketball, if they're going to have the vision, if not, who you play the teams that are closer to you, how would you like to see this basketball now, this revamped basketball season, conference basketball season, develop?
Well, if they consulted me, I would give them two models. The first one we would continue the round robin, where everybody plays everybody twice in the same year. Okay, that would be one model. And my reasoning for that, yes, you added more conference games by adding the other two teams, but early on we made the statement that we wanted our schedule to improve, right? So you wanted to improve by not playing as many guaranteed games and also not playing the NAIA Division II, Division III games. Well, if you do a round robin, that's going to cut down on the number of games that are available. And at our schools, those remaining games will be filled with guarantee games. So that's one model. Now, the next one is if you go to divisions, you play everybody on your side twice. You play everybody on the other side once, which would mean that there's only one of those games would count. Even if you play them twice, only one game would be considered a conference game. And then if you travel this year, the next year you have a home game against the other division. So those are the two models that I would recommend to them. And if they ask me my preference, I would first ask them, what are we trying to achieve? If we try to improve our schedules, let's go with round robin. Mm-hmm. And if you're leaving room for the ADs and the coaches to come up with other games, then you go with divisions. But I think the round robin, even though you're adding additional games, I think that would be the best, because then you'll have a true champion. Because if you play that other opponent only once, and let's say he was at their place, and you lose a close game, 9 times out of 10, if you played them at your place, you probably win that game. So with me, I prefer having the teams play each other twice. If you beat me at your place, then I got a shot at getting you at my place. But if we only playing once a year, whether it's at my place or your place, you can't get that other. You can't do that. So that would be my preference.
So we're looking at. Let me see if I'm following you. If Alabama and them, let's say if it's division on the Eastern Division, they play everybody in that division home and home twice.
Correct.
So that's 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other 6 on the other side, the other division, you play them once. So
correct.
That's 16.
You can play them twice, but only in terms of your schedule, but only one game will count.
Yeah, okay.
Toward the conference race.
And then I see what you're saying. Then you won't have as many quote unquote guarantee games.
Correct.
And the commissioner purposely talked about, those NAIA games are playing lower division schools. But, Coach, how will coaches and athletic directors feel about perhaps, because they're dependent on those money games a lot. They'll still be able to have some, but not as many, correct?
Okay, right. But now let's back up now. When you do your contract, when you do job responsibilities, when you put all that stuff down for a person applying for a job, under basketball, it doesn't say fundraiser. Under athletic director, it says fundraiser. so now and also that's the president's job. It's the president and the athletics job of fundraising. Basketball coaches, we should just pitch in and help where we can. Okay, so we should not have that mantle around our neck that we got to raise money for the athletic department by getting our brains beat out, by demoralizing our kids playing all these games. And see, I don't want to make ADs mad. I don't want to make presidents mad, but the truth is the truth. That's their job to raise money, not the basketball coach. So we should not have. If you're playing guarantee games, you should be doing that to help improve your program. In other words, money should be coming back into your program, where you can fund all your scholarships, where you can recruit. You got a recruiting budget, where you can upgrade your facilities. That's where the money should be going if we play these games. But see, in most cases, that's not what's happening. And that's not right. That's not right to the coach. You're killing him. When he leaves there, look at his record. And then a lot of times it's not because of the conference record. It's the non-conference record that gives you that terrible one-loss percentage.
Well, a person that Charles Edmonds would always say, if they're not going to be fired on their conference record.
Right.
To your point. So with that being said, I've always said there should be some balance with that. Yeah, I understand you have to play those games, but you don't have to play that many. But it seems like once they're hooked on playing 11 or 10 of those type of games, it's like the vampire theory. It needs more blood.
Right, and then here's the problem with that. Now your kids start the conference schedule 0-10, 0-11. Every now and then, we're going to run across a team that's a Power 5 team that's struggling, and we might get a win or two in. But it's tough mentally on those kids going into a season where you're 0-12, 0-13. You don't know how to win because you have not experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
And then now that carries over to your SWAC schedule. Then when you face a point in a game that's very crucial, those kids don't respond positively because they have not experienced it.
Interesting. Visiting with Coach Van Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. Getting some feedback. A listener says, it depends on how much the basketball program is being asked to bring into the budget, especially since we no longer pack stadiums. How do you respond to that, Coach Pettaway?
And that listener is absolutely right. How much are you asking me to bring in? Now, when I was coaching, I could reach my goal real easy. What they asked me to bring in at least $150,000 a year. That was easy. The only time I went over that, I ended up playing about 9 guarantee games. But we had a president, Dr. Jennings, who allowed me to keep the money so that we could upgrade our facilities. Every dime that I made that year went toward the facility. But you know what he did? He made sure the alumni knew what I was doing, why I had that killer schedule out there, and he supported me. He said, long as coach is bringing money back to this university to do good for everyone, he's got a job. That was Dr. Jennings. Unfortunately, he didn't stay around long.
Yeah.
And you got to have more forward-thinking presidents and ADs like that. And see, that's why I was so happy when our current commissioner became the commissioner. Because he's proven that at 2 other schools, that if you funnel some of these funds back into the program, our program will elevate itself. At Prairie View and at Texas Southern, the athletic department was able to use money that was gained through game guarantees. You don't have many schools in the conference that are following that model.
Yeah.
And that's why they're suffering. That's why the athletic departments are suffering, because the only funds that come in are student fees. And that's not enough to run an athletic department. I told you right now, the minimum I think is going to be in the neighborhood of $10 million to run an athletic program. And you're not getting that from student fees.
Yeah.
So you have to create a advertisement. Okay, if we had a television contract, you might be able to get some money through advertising. Most schools don't.
Well, and here's another reason why, with the expansion and the television markets, the brand and marketing with the Southwestern Athletic Conference, am I wrong to say the future is bright if developed right? And I believe they will do it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, let me tell you something. As long as we got Doc down there in Birmingham, this conference, the SWAC is going to be okay. You got a man that was ahead of his time. I'm serious now. When I first came into the league, Prairie View was a laughing stock.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came, my first experience in the SWAC, Prairie View Athletics was a laughing stock. That changed under him. Texas Southern had dropped off. They went to the top once that man took over. See, Doc doesn't play, man. He's forward thinking. He thinks outside of the box. And the reason, and I guess I'm harping on it because as a coach, he was the AD that was in charge of basketball. So he sat in on all our meetings. And just to hear this guy talk, I've always said, man, I'd love to work for him as a coach. Because he's always thinking about ways, number one, the student athletes. Mm-hmm. Number two, not putting his coaches in bad situations. So see, he's always been on top of the game. He's ahead of his time. He should have been the commissioner of the SWAC a long time ago.
Well, doing an outstanding job and accessible.
Yep.
That's being in the media. That's another thing. Not to throw darts at previous commissioners, but
right. No. That's not my intention either. I'm just saying that this is the guy for the SWAC right now. He can lead us. He can lead us, and he is leading us into the future. And the future is very bright for the SWAC.
I would agree. Visiting with Coach Van Pettaway for a few more minutes. I got you at least scheduled till 11:30. How about that, Coach Pettaway? It's
okay.
You're running a 6-minute offense now.
Okay.
Is basketball? Is football? No. You can do it in basketball. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. People are commenting. I'm trying to catch up. That happens when you come on, Coach Pettaway. The Division I manual limits the regular basketball season to 27 games plus a qualifying multiple team event.
Right, correct.
Or 29 games without a qualifying multiple team events. So for further clarification, in Coach Pettaway's first model, leads 7 to 5 non-conference games, and in the second model, it leads 13 to 11 non-conference games.
Right. Go with the first model. 7 games is enough to raise enough money, especially if it's going back into the athletic department.
And you'll secure that goal, then you'll have a chance to win some other games that you can put on, as far as non-conference, and you're not 2-10, 2-12 per se coming into your conference season. Because isn't that kind of deflating in a way? Just we talk about fans and we talk about alums, but from your experience, Coach, at Alabama A&M, did you just ever talk to fans that were not alums of Alabama A&M, but came and supported your school?
Yes,
and watched games.
Right. They were there, and we would do different things, have hospitality and things like that to engage with our fans, especially the season ticket holders. But even before we started doing season tickets in basketball, we still had events where we get a chance to mingle with the general public. It just didn't have to be alumnus of the university. We would have to have events just to get your brand out there, to get you out there, to get your personality. Because I wanted to do that because I don't want the only experience a person has with me now is doing those 40 minutes of that game. There's another side to Van Pettaway, the person versus the coach.
Yes, indeed.
So I would go to other events. You're not going to find a president or AD that I work for that didn't tell you that I held back from visiting different alumni functions or different things that the university put on for the public. I was out there. I ran NYSP for over 27 years, and I didn't get a dime from it. But that was my way of giving back to the public, to our community. I was the project administrator. I made sure that we ran that, and it was free for our citizens, for the people in the community. And we went after low income families to help those people. We got their child all day long and giving them breakfast and lunch. They can go work or do whatever they need to do because they knew that their child was in a safe environment. So we as coaches, we have to do more than just coach our team. We got to be involved in the community that you live in. Then you start doing stuff in that same state. And then, of course, you got to do stuff nationwide. I've been to D.C. I've been to Detroit. I go to the state of Alabama, Mobile, Birmingham, all those places, Pell City. I was there. The shows, I went to every event that they put out, and there was an invitation extended. And I just think that we have to do that as coaches to expand your own brand. I didn't leave it up to other people to get me or my program out there. I took some of that responsibility on myself.
That's truly outstanding. Coach, we got a couple of minutes left. Let's just now talk about quickly FAMU and Bethune-Cookman.
I love it. I love the
what
fact
do
that
they bring to the conference basketball-wise?
But they got two good up and coming programs. In fact, FAMU, they if they had qualified, probably should have won the MEAC last year. So they're two programs that have historically been pretty decent. Bethune is a little down right now. FAMU is on the way back. They got a beautiful facility. So it can only enhance what the SWAC is doing, the image of the SWAC. Having both of those teams, I think, is great.
And on the
then
women's
you got them
side,
as travel partners, so that's easy.
Yeah, and on the women's side, same analysis basketball-wise?
Right. They both up and coming, and they're both in the top four. I think they've been consistent over the years. Now, I think one of the programs was looking for a coach for this upcoming season on the women's side.
Yeah,
but right. But see, they when you look at it, it's more than just basketball that they're bringing to the table, basketball and football. They both got good baseball programs, track and field. They got things that can only enhance the brand of the SWAC. So I think it was a great move, outstanding move.
A great move indeed. Can't wait 2021 and beyond to see the immediate impact. I'm sure they're going to come in, and it's all about coach #competitive.
Oh, yes.
And now I think everybody's going to have to up their game, their ante, across no matter what sport you're coaching in. But if you're a competitor, you want to do that anyway.
That's correct. That's correct. To be the best, you got to play the best. So you play the best in your league, and then you go outside of your league, you should be able to represent your conference well. That should be the goal.
Yeah, well, you put that in such a great way. I think I still have some people mad at me because I said I want Alcorn State to win.
No, and see, you know what, Carlos? I would be one of the people that in football, I wouldn't want to see that. I would not want to see Alcorn over there with Prairie View, Southern, and Grambling. To me, that's if you put them in the same division in the sport of football, that's too much power on one side.
See, now I think it's balanced because if they stay on the eastern side, you talking about a war, and then to me, I think the East automatically now is stronger than the West on paper.
On paper, and see that's your opinion. Mine's a little different. I don't think so. And the only reason why I say that,
you want to fight?
Well, I think Florida A&M. I think Florida A&M. Their football program is ready right now. I'm not sure if Bethune has the same. I mean, to me, I think you probably basing it on that Florida Classic. Bethune probably has been handling fam in that, right? But throw the rival games out. What did they do?
Coach, Bethune is to FAMU what Alcorn is to Southern in football.
I know. I understand that. Mm-hmm. And for that game, that's just like A&M and Alabama State.
Yeah.
So you throw the records out when you come to that game. So what did they do with the other teams in the MEAC? That's why I'm saying Bethune. See, to me, when Jenkins left Bethune, they haven't been the same for a lot of reasons now.
I think they're dangerous.
Yep. Yeah, they are a very dangerous team. I'm not. No. At no way am I trying to disrespect them. You just asked about my opinion. In my opinion, FAM is more ready in football than Bethune.
Well, I think they're the better overall program, but isn't it like basketball, coach? Matchups?
Yep. It's going to depend on matchups, right?
They've lost 9 in a row to Cookman in football, but then FAMU's beating North Carolina A&T, and North Carolina A&T is better than everybody in black college football.
Right. But now look at this. FAMU lost that great quarterback they had. I call him the White Hope. They lost a great quarterback. How are they going to replace him?
Don't get me started on that. 97 yards to win a game. This guy, you made him look like, but anyway, go ahead.
Right. He elevated their program from that quarterback position. I guarantee you they don't have another one sitting down waiting to replace him. That guy was great.
Well, in 2021, we shall see, because that's when it all gets started, and hopefully, Coach, do you like to partake of an adult beverage?
Every now and then.
You know, this is where we could sit down if the pandemic wasn't going, and we could just have a good conversation over one of those tall glass.
That's true. We can do that, and what we need to do is plan. Once the pandemic is over, let's plan a road trip. Let's go to one of these places. I love Daytona. I love Tallahassee. In Tallahassee, they got some of the best seafood that you ever want to see.
And you know I'm a native of Louisiana, so I have to see that one. Look, it's good to indulge in other cuisines.
Yep.
Well, we'll do that. Maybe we'll do the show on the road.
Okay.
All righty. Well, appreciate the time as always. Always a good thing to hear the perspective from Coach Van Pettaway. You enjoy the rest of your weekend and be safe, my friend.
Okay, thank you guys, and you all. God bless, and everybody be safe.
God bless. And it was Coach Van Pettaway, the Coles Brown Show's analyst, basketball analyst, sports analyst. He does a little bit of it all. I got BJ coming up. So I guess we'll take that time out. And then I want to read a message. I think I'll read it now. Then we'll go to break. And I appreciate the listening. I don't think it's fair to say that a school that shuts down their athletic programs due to the pandemic care more about their student athletes than the schools that are still operating their programs. I think sometimes that's the vibe you give off when you make those type of comments. I don't think I said that. I know I did say, for those who decide to, like Langston did, call off their fall sports and Morehouse College and Wiley, I respect that decision. They didn't take that decision lightly. They looked at the data. They consulted with their peers and within their university, and they came up with the best decision that was best for them. But now, the same token, I have said this: with all the great, and these schools have their low resources, low in some cases. But think about this. As we go to this timeout, the Power 5 conference and the elite, they have all the resources in the world, and they cannot stop this pandemic. So, I applaud the decision Morehouse made, Wiley and Langston. Ms. Rogers nailed it. And if that's the vibe I give off, I'm sorry. But this is serious business. And the attitude that I see right here in my city, Baton Rouge, and other places, it's a hoax. The flu has killed more people. I don't give a about that. Those are different. This pandemic is serious business. And I'm going to govern myself accordingly. And you should do the same. Take a quick time out. You're listening to the Coles Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Come on, hustle. Get your head in the game. Come on.
Are you setting the right example for your kids?
You need to get some confidence.
Before your child's next game, ask yourself, how would you like it if they copied your behavior?
Ad revenue has declined 15%.
Come on. You need to get some confidence.
Positive Coaching Alliance has valuable tips and tools to help our kids perform their best while keeping sports enjoyable for everyone. Positive Coaching Alliance. Grading better athletes, better people.
It's the Open Mic Tele-Network line. Dial 720-721-1558. And instantly at your fingertips, you have the latest local news, weather, and sports. Need a word of encouragement? Dial 720-721-1558. The Open Mic Tele-Network line features weekly prayer, verse of the week, and local ministries at your fingertips. Everything you need on demand. Dial 720-721-1558. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No internet, no problem. No Wi-Fi, no problem. No app, no problem. All you need to do is dial 720-721-1558 to listen now. It's innovative. It's encouragement. It's empowerment. It's informative. It's inspirational. It's The Journey, a talk show that is guaranteed to come to you from a different perspective. Coming soon, The Journey. Another production, the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network at Spreaker.com. I got 11:40 Central Standard Time. I want to talk with HBCU Game Day Brandon B.J. Jones, and he'll have the rest of the time. Good morning to you, or shall I say good afternoon / good morning, good afternoon to you, B.J.
Oh, man, good morning, Carlos.
How you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good.
Well, that is good. A good young man like yourself, you will be all right. But be careful anyway, BJ.
Oh man, I'm trying to stay as safe as possible, man. It's like I said, we're going through something that we've never gone through before.
Yeah, it's unprecedented. You're absolutely right. But we're going to get on the good foot quickly. I was sitting thinking, I was like, well, let me talk to BJ. He, unlike some other person I know, they don't like being put on the spot. But BJ will get on the spot. And I was sitting thinking about, now that you got 12 teams, how would you rank just they have the too early polls and the too early this and that coaches in the conference? Who would be your top 5 right now?
In no particular order, I would have to go with Fred McNair. He would be my number 1 guy. You can't deny what the work that he's done at Alcorn. In the number 2 spot, I would have to go with Dawson Odom. Southern people oftentimes get frustrated with Dawson Odom, but you look at the cards that he was dealt and what he made work anyway. I think Dawson Odom is one of those guys where people will look fondly on him once he's gone, as opposed to while he's there. So I would put him there. In the 3rd spot, I would go with Coach Fobbs, Broderick Fobbs at Grambling State. Hey, winning the Celebration Bowl, winning the SWAC title means something. I know they've not finished where they wanted to finish the last 2 years, but you look at how he started. In the 4th spot, I would actually, right now, I would go with Willie Simmons. Look at the work he's done at FAMU. I know at Prairie View he frustrated some people, but if you look at what he's done at FAMU, he's been nothing short of amazing. And in the 5th spot, I would actually have to go with Colin Maynard up at Alabama A&M. And you just look at what he's done with Alabama A&M, getting them in a place year 2 where they're competing for a SWAC title. You look at the work that he did at Winston-Salem State. I think he's in that top 5.
That is interesting. I actually had the number 1 right. And I guess there's no wrong or right. You understand what I'm saying, BJ? I actually thought about Willie Simmons number 2. Then Coach Odom's number 3. But, can I be objective? Because, I've been attacked even at the Celebration Bowl about Coach Odom. Where is Coach? Brother Prince in the background having a meltdown. Sounds like. But this is based on just the early prediction of Brandon B.J. Jones. And let me see. I don't have it down on paper. What I had Odom number 3, Willie Simmons number 2. Odom's 3. Then I had number 4. I think I had Coach Fobbs, and then I had Lewis. Okay. Well, Bethune-Cookman, and then actually a tie with him and Maynard.
Okay.
But again, you're the expert, BJ, the football analyst. So your order of prediction of coaches would have more stock than mine.
Yeah, I wouldn't say all that. I wouldn't call myself an expert. I've just been around for a while.
Well, and it's interesting, some of the coaches that are not on, when we say top 5, and again, this is for discussion purposes. I guess I should have put that disclaimer there, but it is going to be interesting, BJ, 2021 and beyond, because I will say this, I think everyone will have to up their ante as far as coaching, and I think it'll be some hot seats galore after a couple of seasons, because now you got to come with your A game.
When you look at what has transpired in the conference, what's the middle of May? Was it the middle of May, end of May? I mean, winning the SWAC championship just got that much more difficult. Mm-hmm. You look at Florida A&M, a team that has been inside of the top 25 the last 2 years, number one recruiting class in black college football, and you look at the talent they already had coming back, and you put that on top of it, and their talent was young talent. Sophomore All-American receiver, sophomore All-American safety. You look at what they have. Then you look at Bethune-Cookman, and Bethune-Cookman has been right there in the thick of things. They have been a game away here and there, and they've beaten FAMU 9 times in a row. No FAMU senior in the last 9 years has left FAMU beating Bethune-Cookman. So Bethune-Cookman has been right there also. It has just gotten that much more difficult to win the SWAC championship.
I just got a message. No more subpar coaching in the SWAC now. You will have to elevate your coaching and preparation. So I try to be fair, and I guess the emotional part gets to me at times. But, BJ, is it logical to expect a championship every 2 or 3 years, or is that just being in a conversation that will suffice to some or many?
I mean, I think that in a 4 year, I think you need to be competing for it in that 2 to 3 year period. Championships are hard to win, and you don't realize how hard they are to win until you sit back. Let me give an example. We have a SWAC football alumni group, and these are guys who have played in the conference. I mean, going back all the way back to the 70s and more. Not a lot of those guys have championships, and a lot of those guys played in 18 SWAC conference and smaller. They didn't play in the 10-team conference or now the 12. Championships are hard to win. In the words of Pete Richardson, championships are one of those things. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter who you thought you were. They're hard to win, and they don't hand them out in the lunch line. Mm-hmm. Most guys will go through their entire lives never winning a championship on any level in the game of football. So I don't think that people realize how difficult they are to win. I think when you're at a place like Alcorn right now, you're from Southern or you're from Grambling, and it's been pretty much in your school's DNA. You get accustomed to that, and you forget that, hey, there are other schools in the conference that can't sniff one. I mean, it's a hard thing to win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need so many things to go right, and you need a little luck in there too.
And BJ, I know you've heard this. By the way, we're visiting with Brandon BJ Jones, HBCU Game Day. For the record, I know most people know this, but you're, a Southern alum. And one of the things that I get compared to, or I hear this often, is be careful what you ask for, Carlos. You will have the certain situation at Southern if you're not careful, like at Jackson State. And they compare the Coach Odoms and Coach Carmody time. Compare and contrast. Is that fair to compare that? And then when I look at Carmody, and I guess here's the sticking point for some, was Carmody 1-3 whatever against Jackson State, their number one rival?
No, I mean he had a good record against Alcorn. He had a good record against Southern. He did struggle with Grambling. His biggest thing is that a lot of people were getting upset about was the losses in the championship games or losses during seasons where they missed the championship game against teams Jackson State people felt like they should have beaten. He did have some inexplicable losses in there. He had Alabama State in 2010. Well, it looks like Jackson State was just going to cruise on to a SWAC championship game. He had that loss to Alabama State down to Montgomery. And there were some other losses along the way. And let's be honest, Carlos, you remember that 2013 SWAC championship? Nobody thought Southern. No one thought Southern was going to beat Jackson State. It was a foregone conclusion that Jackson State had gone to the championship the year before, lost to Arkansas Pine Bluff. They were breaking everything back, and Southern was just there to be a part of the coronation.
Mm-hmm. And had defeated Southern in the regular season, correct?
Yep, beat us in the regular season in Baton Rouge. I was there.
I was there. I was going after a Jackson State fan in the crowd after that one. Don't scream in my ear. Goodness. But go ahead. I digress.
But no one thought that Southern had a chance. And when we got the opportunity, we pushed that game to overtime and to win that game. Jackson State people were very, very dejected after that game. Now, I will say this. If that caused if they had fired Rick Comegee and hired a Jerry Mack, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You cannot fire Rick Comegee and then hire Harold Jackson to replace him. That's something you cannot do. If they had fired him and hired the next guy goes on and he wins 2 SWAC championships in 5 years, we're not having this conversation.
I would agree. And thus, they continue to say that will happen to Southern University. Now, we're talking hypothetically here, but I don't think Southern would make that same mistake. Because it sounds like what I'm hearing you saying is if you don't renew, and I don't think it'll be firing the present coach, Coach Odom, you will have to have someone equal or better than that. And then that still goes on potential, but unless you can bring in somebody huge. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think if you announce, hey, we're not renewing the contract of Dawson Odoms, but we're bringing in Jerry Mack, different discussion, or we're bringing in, I don't know, the head coach at Bowie State, we're having different conversation. So I think that's different than hearing some of the names that you and I've heard as alums where we've both gone, oh no, oh no. So I think when you fire a coach like that, or let a coach like that walk, you better know 100%, or you better know pretty close to 100% that the guy that I'm bringing in is better. Not he could be better. Not if we could do X, Y, and Z, and then hopefully this falls right, he could be better or be on the same keel, because at that point you could have kept the guy that you had.
And if you have to make certain type of decisions, from what I know in the past, I know you have to form committees and you get input from, loyal alumnus, a powerful alumnus. But there's something to say about an AD that can, with the blessing of the powers that be, that can literally make a direct hire. Would that be something that should be considered going forward? And boy, look, I got B.J. Comegee lost the fan base in championship games, and Bama State losses.
Yeah. Inexplicable Bama State losses. Those are the thing that got Comegee. He lost to Bama State a couple of times where, almost like the Southern game, no one expected them to lose to Bama State. I feel more confident in an athletic director driven hire than I do a committee. And this is just for Southern University, because I know if we were to form a committee, and
you were saying that,
this is not putting the family's business out there, but a lot of people are going to go out for personal reasons. They're going to want people for personal reasons, as opposed to what the person what their resume look like or what they've accomplished on or off the field. And that's what happened with Jackson State and the Harold Jackson hire. A lot of old school alumnus love Harold Jackson. He was a great at Jackson State. They wanted one of their guys in there, despite Harold Jackson already having a losing record as a head coach when he had the opportunity, wanting him in there.
And to your point, you played for this guy. Coach Richardson had no Southern ties at all. He had HBCU ties, but I agree more along the lines of what you're saying, because I want somebody that comes in, can get it done, has a plan, and you don't have to have an ear to this section, and I think that's the way you go. In other words, I'm saying, BJ, you don't have to have, in my case, Southern ties.
Right.
If you're Jackson State, is it important for them? I guess I'll hear from them to have someone with Jackson State ties. I think that you're limiting yourself in a way.
I mean, I think you are, and I think the biggest thing about it is, if you get a guy who comes in from the outside, that guy, he's gonna catch a degree of hell because he is from the outside. You were around when Coach Richardson first came in. I wasn't aware of the hell that he went through the first couple of years because he was an outside guy. Mm-hmm. But with that outside guy, you're bringing in new ideas. You're bringing in sometimes a new style of play, and it's something that re-energizes the fan base, especially if that guy can come in and make an immediate impact. The downside of it is that if that impact isn't as immediate as others would like, people will rally to try to get that guy out of here because he's not a Southern guy or a Jackson State guy or a School X or whomever.
And it's interesting that you say that. I was at the Coach Richardson's first coach game against Northwestern State. Here's a guy who was at Winston-Salem State, Southern, and Coach Kaplan. They beat the you-know-what out of Winston-Salem State. But guess what? I was jumping up and down. Look at me. When you just named the score against Northwestern State. And at that time, that's a school that you're hoping if you're close, you can pull off the upset. It wasn't even close, BJ.
Yeah.
And I was sold right then. So no matter if he wasn't a Southern guy, what have you, that convinced me. That was a thorough butt whipping that they put on Northwestern State. I was like, this guy is great. Unbelievable. I mean, it's just, I think winning solves a lot. And, I understand, BJ, you can't win championships every year, but to be competitive and be in the hunt, that I understand that. But every once in a while, you can get it done. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's going to be some hot seats going forward.
Yeah, and I think this too, Carlos. If we had just gotten our, eyes beaten out in the championship game, I think people can swallow it a little better. But if you look at both championship games, 2019, with 5 minutes, 12 seconds left, you're winning the ball game. 2018, with less than 6 minutes left, you're winning the ball game. Losing like that hurts a lot more than just getting drugged up and down the field.
Well, on that note, I hear the music in the background playing. We're under a minute, and y'all continue the conversation. My colleague says it got to be the right outside guy. You can get an outside guy like Tony Hughes or James Bell. You know what? I will say this in my closing, BJ. It's imperative that Jackson State gets it right on the football field. A strong Jackson State, Alcorn strong, Alabama A&M, on the uptick. Alabama State on the uptick. Coach Dooley, you're on the hot seat. No doubt about that. Coach Favre, some people are unhappy with him. You lose 2 by your classes in a row. I can't wait. 2021. Closing comment, BJ.
Hey, look, the SWAC is a lot better. I like the direction of the conference. My vision for the SWAC, man, I can't wait till us go back to the days when we have 3 or 4 ranked teams in the conference when it comes down to football. And it looks like we might be on our way back, man. We just got to keep pushing.
Football, baseball. Dr. Prince, you're interviewing on your Sunday night show, Mr. Gaucher. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is correct. Courtney Gaucher, live 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Mike Prince Live.
A nice guy. I still got to get used to those colors. Maybe I'll wear shades while I'm listening to the interview. Goodness. Have a great weekend, BJ. Thanks to all of the guests. Sonia Stamps, Danita Rogers, Coach Van Pettaway, and Brandon B.J. Jones, and Brother Michael Prince. Be safe, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Next Saturday, join me for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Central Standard Time right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Until that time, as always, peace and God bless.